Hello, good morning. My name's Yassine Mukadam. I'm a principal program manager with the Power Platform engineering team. And, uh, and today we would be talking about Common Data Services API. And what we would cover is I would set some context along with some API use cases so that you understand how and when you can use the CDS APIs. We'll discuss around the authentication patterns available with demos. So I'll show you multiple ways of how you can get your authentication set up. Then we'll talk about the API discovery. So where I'll explain how you can access the various API information. We'll then cover the various API operations around the requests like read, create, update, delete. After that, I will give you a holistic demo with a .NET console application that will illustrate the points of API, mostly around how you can consume it in an external application. And finally, we will talk about a messaging integration pattern to show you how you can integrate with the Azure Service Bus without writing any code. With that, let's get started. So if you're familiar with Common Data Services, then let's take a look at what's inside. The Common Data Services is an API first. Everything you do in CDS creates an API. It is the same API that is used by your Power Automate, Power Flow, Power BI, and other external systems. Immediately below the API is you have the security layer to make sure that the right people are seeing the right data and auditing all access along the way. From there, we get into the logic where you can implement custom business logic because this logic is below the APIs, ensures consistent business logic across applications accessing your data. Then we get to the heart of CDS, our data tier. This allows you to define the structure of your complex business data without writing any code. And behind the scenes, we are putting your data in the right place using the optimum storage services provided by Azure. This allows us to seamlessly support practically any type of data, from relational data to log data to file data to search indexes to data stored in Azure Data Lake. Finally, no deployment of CDS lives alone. It must be integrated with other systems. We provide many ways to integrate CDS with external systems, from eventing to webhooks to data export. So I will be explaining one of the eventing pattern as a part of this session around Azure Service Bus. So, leveraging APIs. So when do you need to leverage APIs? So if you're creating a custom user experience, a custom application to build from ground up, or a custom web asset to be built and integrated with existing application infrastructure, you would need to access APIs. As an example, you already have an application, a web application, and you want to show some data in that web application from your CDS, then you may want to create a mashup UI and show that data within the context of your larger application. If you want to do your backend integration, that is not available or not possible with Flow, Logic Apps, or data integration services. So if you want to have a point-to-point integration, or you want to have an eventing integration in place, at that time you would want to leverage the CDS APIs. And finally, if you want to do some business operations and validation, so if you have complex business needs to support validations or custom operations that are not possible using native capabilities like workflow, business rules, or calculated fields, then you would want to use the APIs to perform these type of operations. With that, let's look at how do you get started with Common Data Services API. So we pretty much have two forms of APIs. We have a .NET based SDK, which is a legacy version. It's predominantly used in the CDS plugins. For external integration, we recommend the Web API based on OData v4 specification. Let me quickly show you how you can from where you can access this APIs and how it is available. So if you go in your make.powerapps.com and you click on your advanced settings, it should typically take you to your Dynamics 365 CDS instance. There you can select under settings, customizations. In customizations, you can click on developer resources, and here you can get the URL of your web API or the URL of your SOAP services. For the purpose of this demo, we would be mostly talking about the web APIs, and this is where you would get your URL from. So let's look at authentication. For different patterns, you may want to use different types of authentication. So if you're doing a UI type front-end type integration or building a custom user experience, in that case, you may want to pass the user's context so that you only show the records that the user has access to. And you want to pass the user's context to fetch the records owned by the user or some contextual information of the user that is stored in CDS in your external system. So at that time, you may want to pass the user's context. So I'll walk you through how do you set up that type of authentication. Then you may want to pass for your backend integrations. You may not want to pass the user's context. You may just want to use an application account to do the integration. So I'll explain how do you set it up and get that going. And then finally, if you're writing any custom plugins in that context, the context of the user is already provided. So really, you don't need to do any authentication. So with that, let's dive into the demo. Right. So for the purposes of your authentication, I'll just switch my screen and go to the demo. So if you are an administrator or you have access to your admin center of your O365 tenant, which is what we use as a part of our platform or Dynamics 365 as well for the authentication. Here you would see you have your Azure Active Directory. When you click on that, it would open your Azure Active Directory. Within your Azure Active Directory, you can go and click on app registration. So in your app registration, when you click, you would have your, you will click on a new registration. And as a part of that new registration, so I've just set up a couple of app over here. I've already registered, so I'll just open that. So when you click on, or when you're creating a new app, you would let's just create a new one. Yeah. So we'll just call it CDS demo app, and here you can select the account in this organization directory only, the account in this organization directory, multi-tenant. So the purpose of this, we'll select just a single tenant. We won't use the redirect URL. We'll keep it optional. And then I'll click register. So once I click register, it will populate these points. After that, I will go in my API permissions and I will say add a permission set. So when I do that, I will have two options here. One is your Dynamics CRM option. If you have a Dynamics 365 subscription, then you would select your Dynamics CRM as an option. If you have a Power Apps subscription, then you would select your Power Apps runtime services. So if I try to select this as an example and I click delegate permissions and I click this and I say add permissions, it would add it. But then when I would try to go and grant a consent to this, it would give me an error saying that your organization does not have a subscription or service principal for the following APIs. And this is because my tenant is set up to use Dynamics 365 subscription and not Power App subscription. So I'll just go back and I'll select Dynamics CRM. I'll select delegation permission. I'll select users and I'll say add, and I've added it, and then I will grant permissions. So as soon as I grant permissions, the consent is completed. So this is all that I need to do to register an application. Once I register the application, the most important key that I would need is my app ID. So I'll just copy this, right? So here I have my CDS demo app, which was created today, right? So with that, if I move on to my application that I have created, and I will go in that I have created, I'll go and open my web config file. In that, I will specify the client ID that I've copied, right? The redirect URL would be pretty much the ID, and I would specify the username and password. The reason I need to do that is my machine is running on my Microsoft account, but my tenant is a trial tenant and it has separate IDs. But in a real world scenario, you don't need to specify this as long as you're using the same Active Directory and there is trust built, it would enable single sign-on. So once I have set this up, I can every request that the APIs make would run in the context of the user that is accessing the system. So with that, I'll move on to my app registration. And then let's just take a look at the service to service authentication as well. So I'll just show you the difference between the two around the registration, what you need to do. So the only difference between having passing a user's context and creating an application account is you would need to do an extra step around a client certificate. So you would go here and create a new certificate. So if I just go and create a new app, say app registration. So my initial steps would be S2S demo. I'll leave it the same. And then I will go and put my API permissions. So here again, I'll select Dynamics CRM because that's the subscription I have. I will enable grant consent. So these steps are the same, whether you pass the user's context or no. But if you want to use service to service authentication, you have to do an extra step around certificates and secrets. And here you can create a new certificate. So you can select what this is, an S2S CDS certificate. And you can select when it expires. We'll just leave it default for 1 year. And once you click add, you'll have an option to copy a value, which is what you would need in addition to the app ID. So once you have copied this, we'll move to the app. And if you open the app config here, what you have is you'll have client ID, which is the application ID, the tenant ID, and you'll pass the client secret. So once you have this set up, and here, as you see, you're not going to be passing the username and password. So how does CDS know under which user to execute the request? So for that, what you have to do is you'll have to go in your CDS instance, and you'll select the application user. And application user, you would go in specify the application ID. So this application ID is you'll get it from Azure. So it would be this application ID that you would paste. So once you paste this application ID, CDS would access the URI and the object ID, and you can give it an email or information, whatever you want, and then you save it, right? So when your console application is going to execute the request, it's going to execute under the context of this application ID. So every time you see the created by, modified by, would be this application ID. So that is what would be logged in audit as well. So if you take a look at this execution, it's going and retrieving the record within the context of the application user. In addition to that, once you have created the application account, you can go and specify a CDS security role. So you may want to create a custom security role and give fine-grained permissions around what the application account can do in CDS. So that way you have full control around what is possible and what is not possible. So with that, you have both the options to access your authentication, and it's pretty flexible. So with this, we'll move on to the next section around the request, the API discovery. So you would specify your API service. You would get this pretty much URL from your from the UI, and once you have the URL, you would enter and hash metadata, and once you do that, it would render the whole payload. So here you would see you have the entities, which is entity type is nothing but a table. Think of it as a table. It would have the name. Then properties would be the columns. So you would have various columns, right? And that's how you would access and discover your APIs. So if I just quickly show you what I mean. So here, again, if you go in your advanced settings, it will open up your Dynamics 365 settings. And here, if you go in customizations, and within customizations, you select developer resources, it will load this page. And from here, you can get the URL. And you enter your URL in the browser and you do a hash metadata, and it would load the whole payload. So here you can see you have the account entity. The account entity has a key, primary key of account ID, and these are all the properties. And below the properties, you have all the relationships. So when I walk you through various demos, that time I will illustrate how you can leverage these relationships to understand how you can perform updates and deletes and so on and so forth. So this is how you would basically discover your API. So even if you create a new custom entity and call it give it whatever name that makes sense for your application, it would be accessed in a similar fashion. So with that, we'll shift gears and I will walk you through the options of how do you create a record in CDS using the API. So we will, I'll show you account entity simple insert, where basically you do a flat insert of all the records, right? Then I will also illustrate the options of a deep insert. And here you can see that I am not only creating an account, but I'm also creating a contact. In addition to the contact, I am also creating a task I'm associating with that account that I have created. And the way you can identify this account underscore task is through the metadata property. So if you want to do something similar, then you may want to go to your metadata property. And if you search so this is your navigation property. So this means there is a relationship of account entity with your task, and you can use that to tell the API that, hey, I want to create along with this account, I want to create a task with this information, and you can send that whole payload in a, you can send a single payload to perform this complex operation. Right, so with that, I'll just move on to, I'll open Postman and walk you through the create option, just so that it's super easy. And I have reference of how you can set up Postman. So it's super easy. So in the post, if you go and see, I have my URL, which is my CDS instance URL. I have my client secret that I did as a part of my app registration. I've just given it separate version names, and then I have a web API URL, right? And then I have a callback URL and I have an auth URL. So I have this information set up. And then in my so I'm creating an account here, and I'm just giving a sample, just say CDS demo sample, demo sample, and I'm just to set these properties. But before I do send, I need to just make sure that I'm getting the access token. You don't need to do this when you're doing your application. It would be an automated process, but for Postman, I need to do this separately. So I will go and say request a token. I get my token and I'll say use this token. So this token is now refreshed. And then I will set my body like I did. In my headers, I will specify application type as JSON. And then I will post this request. So once I post this request, the record has been created. And the reason I know that is because of the HTTP status. In addition to that, when I get my data back, I can see that the entity is returned by a GUID. So this is how I know that the record was successfully created, right? So this is a very example of a simple insert. I will now move on to the deep insert. Again, in the deep insert, I'll just request the token so that my token is. And then I have the same. So I will just do CDS demo And here in my header, again, I pass the same, nothing really changes. My parents are not there. So in the body, I passed a complex payload, right? And then when I click send, I will see that the account entity is created and a task would be associated with this account as well. So it's all successful. So that's how I can go and create. I can do a simple create of one record, and I can go ahead and also create a complex records. And this is, I've just captured the various snapshots of both so that you know what is what. And this would be your simple create operation. Right? And here I've already given a demo, but if you want to set up Postman and test out these samples on your own, then here is the documentation to leverage Postman. So with the next topic, the next is about updates. So how would you update a record? So again, you can do a simple update of a record and update individual columns or multiple columns for a single entity. In addition to that, you can also do upserts. So you can have conditional updates if the condition is, and it also supports optimistic concurrency updates. So basically, if two users have accessed the record and you want to notify the user that, hey, this record has been changed since you have last read, before you perform the update, you have that ability to through e-tags. So I'll just explain that. How do you do that? So you can do pretty from simple to complex type of updates using the APIs. And I'll just move on to the demo. Okay. So I'll just access my record. And this is a simple update. So I'll just change this. And in the value, I'll say update. And I'll just refresh the token. And the record is updated. So it gives me the activity ID and the information here. So this is like a simple update that you would perform. So I'll just to illustrate a patch or optimistic concurrency, I'll just fetch a record. And again, I'll just refresh my stuff and I'll just flash all the accounts. So if I want to know if the optimistic concurrency is enabled, then I can call this function for the account. So this is what it would tell me, that the optimistic concurrency is enabled for this entity. And then for my patch, I will use the record that I just created. Right. I will go and do my token. So here I am passing, I've just passed a dummy e tag to illustrate the point of concurrency. And if I try to update this in here, I'm just trying to update a single record. Make some changes and I try to update. And here it will tell me the version of the existing record doesn't match the row version property provided. So I cannot update this record because the easy tag does not match. So it gives me an exception that enables me to work with to fetch the latest record of the easy tag and then update it, right? So I will go and get the easy tag for this account and I will update it. So just have to refresh my token again. And here I will have in my header, I'll have the tag. So I'll copy this. I'll go back to my patch, go back to my header here. I will change this tag. And now if I update, the record will get updated. So pretty much all this optimistic concurrency and complex updates, if I want to do using the match property and right, I can easily achieve it through the APIs, right? So here I just explained the simple scenarios. I give an example, same thing that I showed. And here are some documentations, links for you to refer to and understand it more deeply and use it in your integration scenarios. API update, post demo. So now we'll look at delete. So again, delete is a very simple. You will use the delete, specify the entity name and the GUID you want to delete the record, and it would go and delete the record. So if I open my Postman and I specify this, the header is JSON, and I so if it does not exist, it will give me an exception. If it exists, then it would delete the record. So it's a pretty straightforward process. With that, we will move on to the retrieve option. So retrieve is again, if you want to retrieve a single record, then you can retrieve it with the ID and get all the columns, or you can specify the single record and single column and specific columns that you want to retrieve. So let's quickly take a look at that, and then we will move on to more complex demos. So scenario. So here I already executed this. So I'm getting all the columns. Right. For the next one, I specify just 2 columns. So if I change this. So I'll pass this. So here I get my revenue and only the 2 columns that I need, that I have specified. So you can do it either ways. If you want to go more advanced, then you can also use filter operations. So here I'm not passing any IDs. I'm just saying I want the accounts and these columns, and I want it filtered by this name. So I can pass these type of filters and get the records, right? In addition to that, I can also do get related records. So if I want to get accounts and contact information, then I can do that as well. So I can expand. So here I'm saying I want for this account, I want the name, and I also want the primary contact ID with this. So we may use. Use this record, and I will do my get token. So here I'm not only getting the account, but I'm also getting related data. So I can do that as well. So I can go pretty advanced. In addition to that, I can pass the fetch XML queries, which is the query language used by CDS to query related data. I can execute individual views. So in the .NET demo, I will show you some more retrieve options. So I can create a view in CDS and I can call that view and execute it as a part of the APIs as well. And here I talk about filters relationship that I just demoed. And that's the read demo, which I've already done. So with that, if I move on to the .NET application for retrieve data. So here, if you see this program, it's a pretty straightforward program, but here you can pass like expand, you can do limits. I want to only get the top records. So I can specify that as well. I can specify ordering. I can do aggregates. So if I want to basically just get the apply aggregates, I can apply aggregates. If I want to in my query, I can do fetch XML. So if I want to pass a query instead of using just the expand operation, sometimes you may need this for some scenarios, and we have open source tools which will enable you, which will generate this using a UI. It's in the XRM tools. It's called Fetch XML Builder. You can also use predefined queries, like I was saying. So you can call views and then pass the view ID, and then you would get the data. So in a nutshell, you have pretty advanced options to fetch your records and meet your various scenarios. So I'm just running this .NET application now without Postman. So you can see I'm not, it's not asking me for authentication, etc. Right? And it executes pretty much all the scenarios that I was showing in the code. So you can do filters within 1 hour. You can do all kinds of advanced queries that you would use, you would do with SQL. Right. So you can, these are the views that I'm calling, right? So this is how your end-to-end application integration would work. So if you would have a UI or something, you could do it. You could do it with any form. And here I just the demos that I've shown, it's available on GitHub, so you can download the samples and test it out for yourself and play around with the various console applications. and they should be in GitHub. They should be here. So the link that is there, you'll have all the demos that I showed. So the demo that I showed you was query data and single tenant to tenant authentication. So this is the two, but you have a lot more options to play around with and test it for yourself. So with that, right, in addition to that, it also supports impersonation, it supports batch operations. There are a bunch of functions and actions that you can call. So if you need the full scope of the documentation, then I've just put the link here for your reference so that you can do more advanced scenarios. So with that, we'll move on to a different integration pattern. Instead of point to point, we can look at a middleware like Azure Service Bus. So CDS comes native. It has a no-click integration with Azure Service, a no-code integration with Azure Service Bus that you can leverage. So I'll just walk you through how to set it up, right? And give a demo. So here I just walk you through how to set up the message queue, a step-by-step instructions of how do you do it. And once you have set it up, then I explain how do you register the message queue in CDS using the plugin registration tool. So you will log into CDS, you will select your instance, then you would say, I want to register a new service endpoint. Within the service endpoint, you would copy your endpoint, and then once you have that, you would have your endpoint registered. After that, you will add a step. As a part of the step, you would pretty much perform, and then when we create a record, we should see a message. So I'll just move on to my. So if I log on to my portal.azure.com and I click on Service Bus, here I have created a Service Bus. So in the presentation, you have the steps to register it. So I will go and select queues. I have selected my queue is here. And in this queue, you will see I have messages because the records we have been created. So I have registered the accounts entity to receive messages, right? And the way the account entity knows that it has to send this to this message queue is by this registration step in the plugin registration tool. So in this tool, I go and I select, I say register a new service endpoint. I put my connection string, right? And then in the step, I will say that when the record is created, account entity, I will select the endpoint and I will make this asynchronous and server. So you part of the post operation, right? And that way, whenever a record is created, without impacting the user's response, in the background, in the background, the newly account entity would be exported to the Azure Service Bus. And from there, if I have listeners, then I can pull that message and do my downstream integration. And then using the APIs again, I can update the status. So you could do pretty complex integration patterns, but this is how you would go and set it up. And I would come here in my message. So here, if I click on my Service Bus Explorer, right, and I say receive messages. So the message, one message is received, and I click, and in this, I can get all the properties of the account entity that I can use and consume. So if I have a listener available, there are samples. So if you have that, then you can see the whole XML payload. So that's how you would do an Azure like a messaging type of integration out of the box with CDS. And here I just highlighted all the steps around when the record is created so you can test it. A new message is received. And in addition, we also have options for webhook. So I don't have a demo for that, but the documentation is there for you to try it out if you want to. That we'll end this session. So thank you very much for your time.